Straw Hut Media.
Shirley, have you ever listened to a podcast?
No, so I don't know what we're really doing here.
Who are we? We're a couple of true crime aficionados.
Kind of like Charles, Oliver, and Mabel, the three main characters in the Hulu original show Only Murders in the Building, now in season 2.
And we're here making a podcast about a show where the characters make their own podcast about a murder.
I'm your host, Kevin Lawn.
And I'm your host, Elizabeth Keener.
Why are we here? To solve a murder.
And to try to figure out who the killer is before all is revealed in the season finale, which is so soon.
So soon. We may not be in the Arconia ourselves, but we'll get some inside information from members of the cast and crew and clues to help us piece it all together.
Today we'll be talking to the writer of episode 9, Kirker Butler, and the one and only Shirley MacLaine.
Plus, we'll hear more from showrunner and co-creator John Hoffman, actress Da'vine Joy Randolph, and actor Michael Cyril Creighton.
We'll hear about the grittiness Michael Rapaport brought to Detective Kreps, Shirley MacLaine's friendship with Steve Martin, and how much she knew about her Rose Cooper original.
The music from today's show is all from the official Only Murders soundtrack season 2, which was just released. So if you like the music from the show, check that out.
And as of now, we've seen the first 9 episodes, so listeners beware. We're going to give a quick recap. If you haven't watched, hit the pause button, stream episode 9 now, and come right back so we don't spoil anything for you. Episode 9. Oh, we're so close. This episode opens with a voiceover from Detective Kreps.
Last year, the NYPD had a budget of $5.5 billion.
He's a bit crooked. He's definitely stolen evidence, and he's got a crush on someone.
The trio thinks there must be a mastermind behind Kreps' involvement in Bunny's murder.
And Oliver tries to pawn off Mrs. Gambellini onto Charles, and while they're fighting, they find the original Rose Cooper painting in a secret compartment under the cage.
Alice brings Mabel a puzzle she made her as a gift, and Charles tries to call Leonora Folger and discovers that the woman they met at Bunny's funeral was not her.
He finds an address on the back of the watch he inherited from his dad, and it's Rose Cooper's, who had been masquerading as Big Bunny.
You found it.
I found you, Rose Cooper.
Well, tell me something I don't know.
Mabel finds Kreps' employee file at Coney Island and goes to the excessive force gym to confront him.
Even though Oliver told Charles, Mabel, and Will that he's Will's biological father.
So does that mean you're Greek?
Greek-ish.
What's Greekish?
Well, you know how I thought I was Irish?
We learn that he's been lying when he attacks Teddy Demas in the elevator.
Rose Cooper comes over to talk to Charles. She reveals the painting underneath the painting. It's one of Charles and his father looking at the Arconia. It turns out his father wasn't such a bad guy after all.
And she also tells him that there was a woman with brown hair and glasses sniffing around about the painting.
Kreps lets slip that his girlfriend works for a real true crime podcast, and Mabel sees the same chicken logo from the backpack on his towel.
She remembers what it's from. It's the chicken restaurant from All Is Not Okay, the podcast that brought the trio together in the first place.
Kreps went down to Oklahoma to help solve the case and might have had a romance with Cinda.
And Poppy admits to Mabel that she's actually Becky Butler, the woman who disappeared in the All Is Not Okay podcast.
Because I'm Becky Butler.
But every once in a while, you meet someone, and everything changes. And your whole goddamn universe turns upside down. And that's when shit gets really crazy.
Well, shit.
Okay, this has been a journey, huh?
My suspect list has changed an awful lot over the past 9 episodes.
Dramatically. I think mine has too. I don't know. Did I even say?
Yes, yours has changed a lot too.
I don't know if I used the same person twice.
Howard.
I used Howard, always Howard. And I used a lot of people from last season. You know, I just kind of keep adding. You
never know.
And then third season, why not? We'll just keep going. Oh God. But this is exciting. And you guys, you've probably noticed that every episode opens with narration from a different character. Here's co-creator and showrunner John Hoffman on that decision.
You know, when we started working on the show last season, we began to discover this approach that we might take to come in from different perspectives and learn about people's perspectives on the same case. So that became very exciting. But more than that, it was a realization, we're actually building this tapestry of New York characters, you know, that we're looking at not just their perspective, we're getting them a little bit more of their experience, hopefully. Sometimes we're doing it to gain a new perspective of our trio. You know, in episode 6 of last year, we had Detective Williams narrating, and she discovered her wife was listening to the podcast by this trio she encountered earlier on in the season. So we're looking at the trio from a completely different perspective that they have no idea about, but we're gaining new insight on how the world is seeing them.
And in this episode, we're hearing from Detective Kreps.
You know, it was really funny when we first started writing that character. We didn't know it was going to be Michael Rapaport.
This is Kirker Butler, who wrote episode 9 this season. We also had him on last season for episode 2, Who is Tim Kono?
And so we just kind of started with the dialogue. He was this tough kind of New York asshole cop.
My salary was $85,819 before taxes, alimony, and the mortgage on this fucking dump where I also live.
So then once we went out to Michael Rapaport and he said yes, then it was like, we immediately know who this guy is. And he was so fun to write for. I was on set for a few days on episode 9 in the, I don't know, this airs after the episode, right? So I can talk. Yeah. Okay. So I was in the boxing gym and I watched he and Selena do that whole scene where they're kind of interrogating each other. And it was intense. I mean, he was really, really great. And I think it's so interesting that what's coming up for him in 10 as well, I think is pretty great.
You to a joint like this, and she or he, if that's your thing, they smile at you, and your whole goddamn universe turns upside down. And that's when shit gets really crazy.
I mean, we know that Detective Kreps is crooked. We know he thinks he's really smart, but maybe isn't quite as smart as he thinks.
But what's coming up for him in episode 10, do you think?
I'm not sure. I'm very curious. I am wondering if he did this on his own, or because they did say he's not smart enough to do it by himself. But he had the glitter on him, so he's involved, right?
Yes, he is involved big time. And Michael Rapaport brings so much life to Kreps.
He just brought that New York authenticity. Like he's just, you know, when Selena says in the first episode, you know, do you say fuck because it makes you think it makes you sound, or he's so good swearing, you know. I mean, if you go back to the Spike Lee movies and everything, he's so good around a cuss word, and it really just works. He just brought a really natural edge to it, and you know, the guy's funny too, so he's able to make this asshole oddly, I think, charming in a way.
Enjoyable.
Yeah.
For
Totally.
Sure.
And you know what? And he does. It doesn't look like he's just trying to shove in, you know, fuck yous in this. It really does look like that, just how he speaks. And he is charming in a way. He's fun to watch. He really is great. Yeah.
He really is. That sparring scene, I couldn't. I was in the other room watching on the monitor, and it was so good. I went into the room where it was being shot and just stood nearby because I wanted to just see him act like in person. It was great. And Selena was so good in that too.
Oh yeah.
We had talked about, I don't think it was ever written. Maybe it was written. But we had talked about a scene of her actually hitting him like hard a couple times. And, once we did it, just felt unrealistic that, you know, the small but strong woman would, would beat up Michael Rapaport, this angry, grizzled cop. So
right. Yeah.
Mabel beating on Kreps wasn't the only idea for the boxing gym that started and ended in the writer's room.
At one point, we had a thing where we were going to have Steve and Marty there too. And Marty was going to be like a Burgess Meredith and Rocky type thing. He was just going to be going for the kill, and, but it
with
just
the water bottle squirting in her mouth.
Yeah, it just felt even sillier. So we wanted to keep it real.
Mabel showing up to the gym on her own to confront Kreps took some serious chutzpah.
I think that at that point, she's just taking. We talked a lot about, how much are we going to put on this poor woman, and with her in season 1, her good friend had been murdered, and then in this season, she's in this toxic relationship with this woman who is co-opting her trauma for her own art, and we're like, how much can we do this and it not like break this character?
Why the fuck are you here?
Just wanted to ask some questions.
Well, that ain't how this works, see, because I'm the cop.
How's your arm? The one I stabbed after you attacked me?
But we felt like at this point, she was so determined to get to the bottom of it, and that she didn't care. She didn't care who she had to confront. And as you see in that scene, she goes in there and she is fearless. She's not afraid to call him out, to say in a full voice, does your arm hurt where I stabbed you? And, there's a bunch of other cops there, and she's at that point is just not afraid to get to it, because she's got a murder to solve. She's got to clear her own name.
Here's showrunner and co-creator John Hoffman.
We talked a lot about it, Selena and I when I shared with her, episode 7 and all of the stuff that was revealed about her father and the trauma and the source of the missing elements in these traumatic events in her mind and all of that. She was like, oh my God. I'm like, I know, don't worry, but once you clear this, once you get that out of the way, you're going to be tough as hell. You're badass and clear road ahead. And that really is exactly what it is. She feels empowerment after having faced the really hard stuff that was the emotional barrier.
Right. Phoenix Rising.
That's it.
While Mabel is interrogating Kreps at the gym, Oliver and Charles are on their own journeys back at the Arconia.
For Oliver, it's the DNA results. He starts by telling Charles and Mabel, and even Will, that the results confirmed him as the biological father.
But we kind of already knew that wasn't going to be the truth, right, KK?
Yeah, and it leads to a confrontation in the elevator.
Oh, a big one.
What are you? Okay, guys. All right, you guys have fun. Be safe, okay?
My phone!
What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you doing this?
Oh, don't act like you...
You don't know, do you?
But after they duke it out, they're able to talk openly in a way they haven't been able to in a long while.
It's been tense with them for a long time, but they're old friends. And we, as writers and... I fell in love with Nathan Lane in season 1. I thought, I've always known he was great, but I've never seen him do anything like this. And he just blew us all away. And so we were like, we don't care how we have to get him back. Like it would make sense that he was going to jail or awaiting trial or whatever, but we had to get him back in the building. And then we had to have another scene with he and Marty, because they were just so good together. And we had this idea of this DNA test where he would be it would come back and he was primarily Greek. And when we pitched that in the room, I remember everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that's so great!" And how else can we fuck with poor Oliver? And it just felt right, because it was a way to kind of get their past in there. It was a huge emotional story for Oliver, and it allowed us to really get Nathan in there and do some great scenes with him. But he's been so good, as you all well know from watching the show.
Charles, on the other hand, is on his own journey within the theme of fatherhood.
But we talked a lot about who Charles' father really was. Was he a good guy? Was he a bad guy? We went around a lot of different ways. We had a scene for a while where he talked to his father in the secret passageways at one point, and we were just trying to figure out how to work that relationship or make that relationship to where it wasn't tragic, because there was so much, like, Mabel's father had died and Will was not, Oliver was not Will's father. And there was a lot of father and child stuff happening. And even though Steve has a strained relationship, or Charles had a strange relationship with his father, we still wanted it to have some kind of positive ending for him, so that all of his memories about his father weren't terrible. So I forgot who it was who pitched the idea that there would be a painting under this painting that showed, like, what his father's dream for his kid was, but unrealized.
And it's thanks to Charles's detective skills that he's able to unmask Rose Cooper and get to the secret painting under the painting.
That scene in, I forget which episode it was, where Charles' father is being hauled away by the police. We talked about, and I think it was written, I don't know if it was shot, I don't know if it ended up in a final script or not, but where he was sitting there, the young Charles, and there's a woman's hand on his shoulder, and he looks up and he sees that it's Rose Cooper. And we played that up a little bit more, but we didn't want to give anything away, so we ended up cutting that. It was a long debate about how much do we tell there, how much do we tell when she's getting into the cab or the car at the end of episode 2. So it was a lot of debate about the Leonora Folger, but we did want it to have end with her giving him that painting.
And I will say, KK, I just want to say a lot of fans guessed that Rose was Lenora. They guessed it. So,
yeah. I think of all of our mysteries, that's probably the easiest one to solve.
How dare you? You have to give them something. No, you fans, you really did a lot of work for that.
Oh my gosh. They are, I read the stuff on Reddit, and I'm just,
oh my God,
I'm blown away by the fans of this show.
They're really invested in the show, and it's so global just from the emails that we get from people. It's amazing.
Yeah. So they can
fun.
take
it's fun for us too. There were things that we would read on Reddit, and they're like, "Oh, well, the writers obviously did this," and we're like, "Yes, that is exactly what we were thinking, because we're that smart."
Getting back to the painting, do you think that Bunny knew that second painting was there?
Oh, that's a good question.
Was it discussed in the writers' room?
I don't. No, it was. I feel like she wouldn't know that. Otherwise, she would have had 2 Rose Coopers, and that would have been, she seems like the kind of person who would really kind of revel in that, having 2 of those and finding the secret painting. So I don't think she knew it was there. I don't think anyone knew it was there except Rose Cooper.
Rose Cooper, who is played by the amazing Shirley MacLaine, someone everyone seems to fangirl and fanboy over, including us.
Yes, especially us.
Hello, Shirley.
Yes. How are you?
Such energy.
Hey, Brian.
It's great to meet you, and I appreciate you taking the time. I'm here with the whole podcast team.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's right. We talked to the amazing Shirley McLean.
You did?
Oh, yes. I'm saying she was so funny and so kind and generous and smart and wonderful. All the things she is. I mean, just all of it.
I mean, she really is a dream. And she's 88 freaking years old and sharp as ever. I mean.
And we'll hear more from her and from Kirker after a quick break.
We were just talking in the room one day, and he said, "Do you think maybe would Shirley MacLaine be right for Leonora?" And we're all like, "Yes, John, of course. She'd be right for anything, like anything."
Welcome back. This is Kirker Butler, the writer of episode 9.
And so he called her, and she agreed to do it. And I'd heard this from John that Steve was very like I get to work with Shirley MacLaine. Like he was excited to work with this legend, as well he should be. But that scene that they had together, was really great. Yeah. And he was,
It was a beautiful scene.
Who wouldn't be?
So the Cocotinis are yours, not Leonora Folger's.
I knew enough about her to pull off a little day trip into the city. But I think I'm slipping now. I don't know how you actors do it, pretending to be somebody else all the time. It's exhausting.
You pulled it off like the master you are.
It's exciting for you, isn't it? Figuring out little mysteries.
Not so little. The world has been wondering about you for years.
The world, please.
Yes, I recall that scene. I don't think they had written what I don't know. I just know what I had to do with acting. That's a mystery, and it's not this painting. It's the wrong painting. That's all I know.
This, of course, is Shirley MacLaine, who plays Rose Cooper and Leonora Folger. Our producer Ryan tried to dive a little deeper.
What was the conversation like with Steve before approaching that scene?
I think we were talking about what we had for dinner the night before. Yeah.
The really important
stuff. It's a big topic of conversation after 60. He's a delight, Steve is. He really is. We've known each other for years.
You want to elaborate? Please do.
Yeah, I can't remember when I met him because I don't remember all that much of anything anyway. But he's an intellectual. And so we talk about things like what's going on in the world and should we continue? And is there any point in getting up in the morning? And then we talk about optimism. And then we go from optimism to, well, that's too unrealistic. Let's talk about reality. And he's a very nice man and very smart. Well, there's a difference, being creative is part of intellectuality.
Yeah,
I think.
yes. Yes.
And that was what was interesting, discussing things like that with Steve.
Right.
Mostly Steve. I mean, I like Marty a lot. He's a sweetheart. But I mostly identify with the time of Steve Martin, although I'm way past below him in terms of being born years before. But I do like his white hair and his intellect, which is more like what I grew up with.
Yes, yes. He's always had that white hair, right? I haven't even, did he ever have, I never remember him not having that white hair.
You're right.
Yeah. And an arrow through his head, Shirley.
Well, the era, I mean, we're in such a different era than what I'm used to that I have to relearn English and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very interesting and in many ways off-putting.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to go and do something like the show.
Right.
You got to go back to New York, sit in a restaurant with my face covered, and take the mask off every time I swallow. So it's...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve.
I always wondered, did you ever, I know he plays so many instruments and you sing, did you ever just kind of do that at parties and things like that? Just kind of sing and play?
I used to play violin when I was a kid because my dad was a violinist. Wow. Yeah. And, I took lessons and could actually halfway perform. But, it was the violin became too heavy.
Good thing it wasn't a cello.
No, I didn't need to sit down. Not yet. No, but I did play the violin, and I often think about that because it's a very elusive instrument.
It's a beautiful instrument.
When was the last time you played the violin?
Oh, my God. At my last funeral of my other life. I don't know. I can't remember.
Wow. Oh, just imagine.
But it was, I was a kid. And
then
I got into dancing and performing otherwise.
Can you tell us about Leonora/Rose's character and her character arc?
Absolutely not. I don't understand it. It's too complicated for me. I don't know what's going on in the script. Neither did any of the other actors. And so I have no idea. I just played what I felt that day, I guess. You think I'm kidding. I'm not.
No, I don't. well, that works for you because that was let me tell you, that was a powerful scene that you had with Steve Martin. It really was. It was a beautiful scene.
And you were playing a character who was playing a different character, an imposter.
Yeah. An imposter.
Oh, really? Oh, that's what it was. Oh, okay.
Yep. We'll let you know what you were playing.
Good. Somebody's got to film me in. Okay.
It worked really well.
And she'll laugh about all the stuff she doesn't understand and know either. She'll probably, I'm sure she said, I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Oh, completely. It was so funny. She's so great. I love it.
But then you watch the scene and it's like, you clearly knew what you were doing. So it's like,
she's Shirley freaking McLean.
Shirley freaking McLean.
I mean, that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, that's what Steve Martin said. Geez, she would be all over the place telling the funniest stories and stuff like that, and then settle her down into that scene. And he was like, boy, she's got it. Wow. She's still got it.
Got it for sure.
Yeah.
Love.
Since we had Shirley on the phone, we had to ask about filming Bunny's memorial back in episode 2.
Yeah, especially because Michael Cyril Creighton, who plays Howard Morris, had told us this.
There's actually a really funny thing. This was very fun, and it got cut out. But after I gave her the cocaine, she told me to crawl away. And then there's just like a long shot of Howard holding the martini glass, crawling back to the kitchen. It makes perfect sense that it was cut because it was like literally too long, not serving the story, but it was really fun to do. And she was really concerned that she was like, please tell me you have knee pads on. Please tell me you have knee pads on. And I did. She was very worried about me. She was very amazing.
Wow.
That was the best. That was an incredible day.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't in the script. I don't know why. It looked like he needed a rest.
Well, that's
and he did it immediately. He got down on his knees and did what most people should do with me. Crawl away.
And he said he loved doing it, by the way.
Yes, and then I went faster, and he went faster, and then I thought, well, maybe you should leap for something. But he had already made it to the kitchen.
Oh, my God. So funny. Well, were there any other behind-the-scenes improvising moments that you can tell us about or that you remember or anything?
Oh my God, how can I remember back to December? Wait a minute now, let me think. Well, I remember we were in the middle of COVID, and I'm not used to working on the set with everybody wearing masks. I like to know who the people are. So I guess I would go around asking, well, who are you? To a lot of the crew. And there was one member of the crew who really knew how to do a wonderful dance. And so I wanted to dance with him.
What kind of dance was
and
it?
They were lighting, so I didn't cost any time. I have to think about that.
I'm still so curious what kind of dance this lighting guy did that impressed Shirley MacLaine.
Well, let's see. The Watusi. He's a
Lambada? Is it forbidden?
The mashed potato. Did you say the lambada already? Oh, yeah.
Lambada. It is forbidden.
Boy. Yeah, it is forbidden. You know what? That's probably the one. It's forbidden. It's Shirley MacLaine.
All right. It's lambada. We're going with that.
And that same scene back in episode 2, they may have cut Howard crawling back to the kitchen, but they left in the bit with Rose struggling with the cheese.
Well, we were late for lunch, so I was hungry.
Multitasking.
Yes, and then just doing what occurred to me.
About how many days did you film altogether for the show? Do you recall?
I think I was in New York for a week and a half or 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And, it was all about how do we get across town and not go to lunch or dinner with anybody, and I sat in a theater and watched a wonderful musical, and thought about how close the seats were. You do that, when you're in the middle of a kind of a deeply depressing time.
Yeah.
And then, but still, you've got to be creative when you go to work. So, and that didn't really hamper anything in our shoot, but it did in the offstage reality, because I couldn't get to know the crew. I didn't know who I was talking to and who might have wandered on the set. Yeah. I didn't ask too many questions. I just ate the cheese.
Did you go into hiding because my father was threatening you? I don't know a lot about my father, but I don't think he was a good man. And it has haunted me my whole life. And then you came along.
I hope that you charge rent to the people inside your head. You'd make a fortune. Do you have the painting, please?
I haven't seen our episode that you're supposed to be talking about.
Ooh, it's so good, Shirley. So good.
It's very well done, yes.
Oh, it's incredible. So much to unpack, and it's so beautiful and done so well, and it's just, and all the different, there's comedy, drama, serious. It's just all beautiful. With the culmination.
Are you talking about the whole show or just that episode?
Well, the whole show and your scenes in particular.
Yes, we will stay.
How's that?
Okay, you don't have to get down on your knees. It's all right.
KK's always down on his knees.
Well, while you're there,
you could use a refresh on the Cocotini.
Now that's something John and I made up.
Yeah, the Cocotini?
We would have that. Yeah, we would have that every time we had lunch.
Huh.
Wow.
And then of course, if they changed bartenders, we'd have to revise him all over again.
Isn't that the case? You got to get the perfect one every time.
Well, sure. What's the point of having a Cocotini that isn't perfect? And so we made it up.
Once again, listeners, if you enjoy a cocktail and you haven't tried a Cocotini yet, head to the show notes of episode 2 for a Shirley MacLaine approved recipe.
Did you have any guesses of who the murderer is?
I have no idea. I mean, was someone murdered? I have no idea.
Keener, do you think you know who the murderer is?
Well, I always think I know who the murderer is, but it's not time for the Whodunit Summit yet, KK.
True, but all signs seem to be pointing to Cinda, right?
Oh, yeah, they do. But this episode had a lot of big reveals. We know for sure that Kreps is Glitter Guy and that he was down in Oklahoma for the Becky Butler podcast.
Right. And we know that the woman we thought was Leonora Folger is actually Rose Cooper.
Yes. And we know that Teddy Demas is Will's biological father.
And we know that someone with brown hair and glasses was sniffing around the painting. There's so many big reveals going on.
Well, we have a lot because we set up a lot in this season. And I think the trick is to do it in such a way to where we have just enough to where it's like, oh my God, like the reveal at the end of 9 about Poppy is incredible. It's so great. And it makes you want to watch the last episode. You just want to dive right into the next episode. But I think the key is to figure out how to space them out to where it doesn't feel like an information and we're still kind of playing into the mystery. And so we had so many things that we wanted to tell and so many stories that we did tell. And that was a challenge for us to figure out exactly how we wanted to reveal them to where it was satisfying and didn't feel like it was too much at once.
I really didn't know that that Oliver was not telling the truth, that it wasn't his son. Did anybody else?
Oh,
I didn't think that. I could have if I thought about it. He's not Greek or whatever, but I didn't. I was just watching it effortlessly, and then wow, it just hit me with.
He's
Teddy.
a very convincing
So that was a
liar
great
when he
reveal.
needs to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that character has probably lied to many people in his life.
Everyone.
Investors.
Right.
Everybody.
Actors.
His wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's
Everyone.
So maybe the biggest reveal of this episode is that Poppy is actually Becky Butler from All Is Not Okay in Oklahoma.
Right.
Are we going to learn more about that in episode 10?
Yes.
Come again?
That's all I'm going to say. Yes.
Without revealing
Boy,
too
the
much.
question was way longer.
I know.
Yeah. I don't want to give anything away. I think episode 10, it's very satisfying, and I don't want to taint it in any way. I don't want to give Reddit anything to talk about. Yeah.
There's so many great songs from the soundtrack this season, KK. I mean,
what's your favorite, Keener?
Well, no, I'm not going to pick a favorite because then I'll get screwed. But you know what? Honestly, the music on this show is just...
It's very dramatic, but soothing at the same time.
Oh, soothing. Nice work.
If you want to learn more about how the music for the show is created, listen to our podcast, Season 1, Episode 8, titled Double Time.
Oh, yeah. We talked to composer Siddhartha Khosla.
Yeah.
We started this episode talking about a crooked cop. Why not end it with one of the straight ones?
Well, she's not exactly straight.
Right. Okay. The good gay cop.
Those last 2 episodes, I don't know how they did it. We literally filmed it in chunks because everyone is there. And so they had like markers or like a pillow, a pink pillow is this person and that one is that. And because there's too many people in that space to have the like dun, 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 who done it at the end of the season. That it was just it was amazing the way they were able to tackle it. I don't know how to do it, but it's like really beautifully organized chaos. I would say like from the end of the actor, it's crazy. Wow. Other situations, I'm telling you, on other shows, directors would just like scream and run for the hills. I think when you watch the end of this season, a very lovely actor, loved by many, very talented, kind, will appear. And they will then be continuing into season 3 as the main story that will be in connection with the other character who we haven't delved into their life yet. Okay, I'm going to give you another one. I'm feeling very dangerous. It will be a show within a show. In season 3, I'm gonna get in so much trouble.
See, layer after layer. No, this is no. Don't worry.
If I get fired,
it's already hurting my head.
It's just so much fun. But no, okay. There will be a show within a show, from at least what I've been told last. There will be a show
within a podcast.
The Only Murders show.
Before we get to the Whodunit Summit, here are some parting words from the one and only Shirley MacLaine.
I mean, we really loved talking with her.
Well, I guess if you're going to fill up the air with your talking, it should say something, shouldn't it? What shall I say? I think that we all have to spend more time alone. I think we have to be more involved with who we are and who we're not. And when we get more acquainted with ourselves, because that hasn't been happening for quite a while, we're just more acquainted with what's going on the outside and then how to respond to it. But if we knew ourselves better, I think we would have a more a more flowing and creative and happy world. And I would recommend spending some time together and then some time alone. But mostly right now, I think more time alone would be recommended for being more involved with what your future might be.
Self-reflect.
Hey, you know what? And I thought of the next title, Lonely Murders in the Building.
Well, that way nobody gets killed. See, that's why it's a good idea.
That's right.
It's a short series.
As we said, everyone, the soundtrack is available, so we're going to leave a link in our notes, and then you can purchase it and enjoy it to your little murderous heart's content.
Act out scenes at home.
Perfect. KK, episode 9, and we are ready again, one more time, for the
Whodunit Summit. Are you ready to go?
Woohoo! Yes. Tell people again real quickly what this is.
This is where Keener and I, based off what we have seen so far, write down who we think the murderer is, seal it in an envelope for each other until right now when we reveal it. Keener,
okay.
Are you ready to go?
Yes, and I'm going to open yours first, okay? So here we go. You said Cinda.
Cinda, yes.
Do tell.
Well, she just seems like the murderer at the very end of the episode. And I will say, I did guess her before, as you probably don't recall. But
I never recall.
Suspected her. I think she was my very first guess, and now she is my last guess, because I don't think we'll have a Whodunit Summit next week.
I don't think we should have it anyway, so, just to see if we're right.
Cinda Canning is my suspect.
Ready? Okay, let's do mine then. Okay. Let's just do it really.
You said Cinda.
Yes.
Great minds.
So I don't know how you copied me without knowing mine first, but yes, great minds. If you remember, I said Cinda last season, so something's happening. I do believe.
Did you
finally
really say her last season?
Yes, wow. At some point. I know it.
You're like one of those precogs, and you see a crime before it happens.
It was a precog. Yes, for those of you, you can look that up. But yes, I think it's Cinda too. I mean, I don't know. She turns slowly but surely in the chicken cluck cluck place, and what else could it be, right? What else could it be, KK?
She's not like the trio stealing her thunder.
Never.
And this is a murder she could control.
Yes, a murder she could control. That's very good. I'm going to write that down, put it on a t-shirt, and sell it. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Season 2, Episode 9 of Only Murders in the Pod. Our inbox is open, so please send over your thoughts and theories to onlymurders@strawhutmedia.com. And if you're enjoying the show, please leave us a rating and a review. It really helps people find the show.
Only Murders in the Pod is a production of Straw Hut Media, hosted by Elizabeth Keener.
Me.
And Kevin Lawn.
Me. You.
Produced by Ryan Tillotson and Maggie Bowles. Associate producer is Stephen Markley, original music by Kyle Merritt, and Only Murders theme music by Siddhartha Khosla. Big thanks to John Hoffman, Xavier Salas, Louisa Maltini, and the entire Hulu team.
All right, here we go with the fan mail and the guesses and the theories and all that. And you know what? I am going to talk like this, like Alice in this one, because I feel like doing it this time because, you know what?
In homage to Alice?
An homage to Alice.
And her possibly fake accent?
And her possibly fake accent. Yes, here we go. Jeff from Harper's Ferry, he sent us a couple, and thank you, Jeff. I'm just going to read a little bit of yours. Why did Kreps break in Charles's door? He knew nothing about the walls until the break-in and was after Charles' revenge for the glitter bomb and knitting needle attack. After Kreps' comment to Marv, dirty cop and a terrible person. Ooh, he's got Kreps' number, I think. Right, KK? Yeah. That is some good shite.
The letter I picked this week is from Kennedy from Utah, and there's also some Kreps stuff. They said that they have a theory that Detective Kreps is the half-brother of Charles, and since Charles's father had many romances, perhaps Kreps is the result of one of those. Possibly even Rose Cooper could be his mother. Wow. And he also thinks that he is jealous of Charles, who plays a pretend detective on television, stealing the spotlight from Kreps, who is an actual New York City detective.
Well, we need pie charts and labels, diagrams and trees. Like we need to see reenactments. Oh, you and I can reenact everything. But I am like amazed at what people send us. They really push through and think it really hard, and
there's
have a lot of theories.
Thought processes going on. It's always interesting to hear that.
Yeah, and I guess Kreps is the bad boy. I mean, they are thinking
seems to be leaning towards Kreps,
right? Glitter guy or what? I mean, what have you? And he's got the excessive force going on. He's got things.
And we want to give a shout out to Alicia B, Ryan P, Jeff L, Juliet, Susie, Karen, Toombs, Jackie D, Ted. Keep them coming. We love hearing your thoughts and theories.
Yeah, we got the whole alphabet there, right? I mean, A to Z. Thank you, everyone.
Global.
It's global. It really is. Thank you, everyone. We read them all, and we try and shout out to you. But thank you so much for sending. And your doggies. How many doggies do you have? I just heard them.
I now have three rat terriers and 2 big shepherds.
Oh, baby. That's a sweet family there. Yeah.
A little pack.
Yes, and I live in a doggy place. And no, I don't. I'm just going off the track here.
A kennel.
It's in a kennel.
I live in a kennel. I couldn't think of the word.
Okay. All right. Let's do this. Let me grab a little water. Oh, there's dogs barking. I got TaskRabbit doing my IKEA stuff in the back, banging. We'll see what happens.
What?
Hey, that where it was hidden. That's not where the poop falls, correct? I mean, there was like another layer of something.
There's another layer.
It's a shelf.
The poop was discussed. There was a lot. We talked about maybe if it was upside down and there was poop on the back. There was a lot of discussion about the bird poop and the painting. I named it that because I think cops like excessive force. So it just felt appropriate.
When Mabel looked up the excessive force gym, it had 1.5 stars in the review.
Yes. Yeah, it's gross. It's really gross. And they did such a good job. I mean, they found an actual gym. But just anything like that where you have just a bunch of dudes, sweating all the time and beating each other up, it's kind of gnarly. And the fact that he lives there too. I mean, I think if I were going to go to a gym and the owner lived there, I might give it 1.5 stars myself.
It says something.
Yes, it really does.